Welcome back to Farm Logic, where we explore the world of agriculture. What if a farm could be bigger than entire countries? So vast that checking your fences requires a helicopter, and traveling from one end to the other takes an entire day. This isn't some futuristic fantasy. Right now, there are agricultural operations so massive, they produce enough food to feed hundreds of millions of people, where a single company controls more land than some nations possess. The desert miracle that shouldn't exist. Let's start with something that defies everything you think you know about farming. Picture trying to grow crops in one of the harshest deserts on Earth, where temperatures regularly hit 120 degrees and rain falls maybe twice a year. Most farmers would call that impossible. But Almaray dairy farm in Saudi Arabia looked at that scorching desert and saw opportunity. Spanning over 400,000 acres across the Arabian Peninsula, Almaray has turned barren sand into one of the world's most technologically advanced agricultural operations. The farmhouses, over 170,000 dairy cows in climate-controlled facilities where temperatures stay perfectly regulated regardless of the inferno outside. But the real engineering marvel is the water. Every drop used on this farm comes from desalinated seawater, pumped through hundreds of miles of underground pipes. The irrigation systems create those perfect green circles you can see from space, geometric patterns of life in the middle of absolute desolation. Almaray grows its own feed crops using center pivot irrigation that sprays water in calculated amounts, timed precisely to minimize evaporation in the brutal heat. The farm produces enough fresh milk and dairy products to supply much of the Middle East. The operation consumes more electricity than some small cities, running massive cooling systems and desalination plants around the clock. The Australian giant where cattle roam farther than you've ever traveled. From the engineered precision of Saudi Arabia, we travel to the wild expanses of the Australian outback, where Anna Creek Station operates on principles that haven't changed much in 150 years. Except for the helicopters, GPS tracking, and drone surveillance, of course. Anna Creek Station covers an almost incomprehensible 6 million acres in South Australia. You could fit the entire country of Israel inside this single property, with room to spare. It's roughly 4 times the size of London, making it the largest cattle ranch in the world. Established back in 1863, this station was originally intended for sheep before the owners realized cattle were better suited to the harsh, dry conditions. Despite its enormous size, it only runs about 17,000 head of cattle. Each animal needs dozens of acres just to find enough sparse vegetation to survive. Managing a property this size requires thinking on a completely different scale. Ranch hands use helicopters and motorcycles to check on herds that might be 50 miles away from the homestead. A single water pump failure could strand hundreds of cattle with no alternative water source for days. Workers can travel 80 miles in a single day and never leave the property. They maintain over 200 miles of fencing and service dozens of solar-powered water pumps. During roundup season, helicopters buzz low over the red desert, herding cattle toward temporary holding pens, the Chinese dairy empire that feeds a nation. While Australia focuses on beef cattle roaming free across desert plains, China took the opposite approach. The Mudan Jiang city megafarm sprawls across 22.5 million acres in northeastern China. This one farm covers more land than the entire country of Ireland. Created by merging dozens of state-owned farms into one massive entity, Mudan Jiang specializes in dairy production on a scale that would have been unimaginable a generation ago. The farm supports over 100,000 dairy cows, supplying milk to a significant portion of China's 1.4 billion people. But this isn't just a big farm. It's an agricultural city. The operation includes its own feed mills that produce thousands of tons of cattle feed daily. Custom-designed milking parlors process milk around the clock. GPS-tracked logistics routes move products with assembly line precision. Every aspect is digitized. Individual cows are monitored with health tracking systems that detect illness before symptoms appear. Automated feeding stations deliver precisely calculated nutrition based on each animal's production levels. This level of vertical integration allows incredible efficiency. The farm generates its own power and processes its own waste. Critics point to the environmental impact of concentrating so many animals in one region. But from a pure logistics standpoint, what China accomplished here is remarkable. The Russian farming empire, built on Black Earth. Russia's contribution to the list of agricultural giants operates under conditions that would send most farmers running. Rousagro spans over 2.5 million acres across Russia's famous Black Earth region and extends even into Siberia's frozen fields. That's equivalent to roughly 3,900 square miles. What makes Rousagro fascinating isn't just the acreage. It's how completely vertical the operation is. Rousagro owns everything from the fields, where crops grow, to the processing plants where they're refined, the logistics chains that move them, and even the retail networks that sell them. The livestock divisions are equally massive. Hundreds of thousands of pigs and cattle live in state-of-the-art facilities, engineered to operate year-round in temperatures that regularly drop below zero. These aren't simple barns. They're climate-controlled production facilities that maintain optimal conditions while Siberian winters rage outside. The fields stretch so far that farmers rely on satellite mapping and AI-guided tractors to navigate efficiently. During harvest season, fleets of massive combines rotate around the clock, rarely stopping. What began as scattered Soviet-era collective farms has evolved into one of Russia's largest agricultural companies. The South American soybean machine. From frozen Russian fields, we travel to the warm, fertile plains of South America, where Elahar built an agricultural empire by doing something most farms avoid. They don't own their land. At its peak, Elahar managed over 2 million acres across Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Bolivia. What makes Elahar unique is their asset-light model. Instead of buying farmland, they lease massive tracts, focusing capital on high-efficiency crop management and technology. The operation deploys satellite imagery to monitor crop health across multiple countries simultaneously. GPS-guided tractors plant with scientific precision. Weather-based algorithms determine optimal planting dates. Their digital control centers look more like mission control at NASA than a traditional farm office. During harvest season, equipment runs 24 hours a day. Logistics hubs coordinate grain transport by truck, rail, and ship in real time. One coordinator might be monitoring fields in 3 countries, watching harvest progress and commodity prices simultaneously. The wilderness transformed into China's breadbasket. The Beta Huang Group controls over 5.3 million acres of farmland in northeastern China. The name means Great Northern Wilderness, describing the swampy, untamed region it conquered decades ago during China's push for agricultural self-sufficiency. Now it's the breadbasket of modern China. Beta Huang focuses on rice, soybeans, corn, and wheat, but operates seed development labs, irrigation technology hubs, and food processing plants, creating complete vertical integration. The fields are so massive that autonomous tractors, guided entirely by real-time data and satellite mapping, handle much of the field work. Drones monitor crop health. AI-driven soil sensors track moisture and nutrients. Some operations run with minimal human oversight. The company is experimenting with climate-resistant crop varieties and regenerative soil techniques to protect yields against rising weather extremes. In recent years, they've expanded beyond China, leasing land in Argentina, Russia, and Southeast Asia. This is agriculture with geopolitical ambition. The Texas Ranch, where tradition meets innovation. Back in the United States, the Ivy Ranch proves that massive scale doesn't require abandoning tradition. Covering around 500,000 acres in southern Texas, roughly the size of Rhode Island, this family-owned operation balances old-school ranching wisdom with modern technology. The land is used primarily for cow-calf operations, but the ranch also manages wildlife conservation and soil restoration. Unlike corporate megafarms focused purely on production, Ivy Ranch takes a longer view. They've been recognized for sustainable grazing practices, working with ecologists to rotate herds and regenerate native grasses. Some areas are set aside specifically for wildlife corridors, allowing deer, birds, and pollinators to thrive alongside cattle. Despite its massive size, the ranch is managed by a relatively small team. Generations of cowboys have passed down traditional skills, but now those are paired with satellite tags, digital herd monitoring, and aerial surveys. The family legacy that spans continents. The Howard G. Buffett Foundation farms, operated by Warren Buffett's son, span over 1,500 acres of experimental fields, plus tens of thousands more in active production across Illinois, Nebraska, and Arizona. But this isn't about maximizing yields. Howard Buffett uses his land to push boundaries in sustainable agriculture, water conservation, and no-till farming techniques. The heart of the operation is in Decatur, Illinois, where the research farm tests regenerative practices and drought-resistant crops designed for global application. Methods developed here are now being adopted in parts of Africa, Central America, and war-torn regions where food security is life or death. While much smaller than the sprawling ranches of Australia, this operation is globally influential. It proves that size isn't always measured in acres. The second Australian giant, located in the far reaches of South Australia, Clifton Hill Station is the country's second-largest cattle property, spanning an incredible 4.2 million acres. That's about 6,500 square miles. You could drive for 8 hours straight and still not cross from one end to the other. Founded in 1876, it's been operating for nearly 150 years in one of the most remote regions on Earth. Cattle roam freely over desert plains and rocky floodplains. Managing them requires helicopters, GPS trackers, and motorbikes. Rainfall is sparse, and the landscape shifts from drought to flood with little warning. Water infrastructure is critical, with miles of pipelines and solar-powered pumps keeping troughs filled. Clifton Hill is still family-owned, employing a tight crew of stockmen who live on the property for weeks or months at a time. The global network that farms every climate. Unlike other entries on this list, Olam International isn't a single farm. It's a multinational corporation operating hundreds of farms across more than 60 countries, managing over 3.8 million acres worldwide. Olam's operations stretch from peanut fields in Argentina to coffee estates in Tanzania, almond orchards in Australia, and rice paddies in Nigeria. What makes Olam fascinating is how customized each operation is. In the US, they focus on almonds and cotton. In West Africa, they're among the largest cashew and cocoa processors. The company champions traceability, using blockchain and satellite data to track products from origin to consumer. They're not just farming, they're reforesting, restoring soil, and creating carbon offsets in vulnerable ecosystems. The future of feeding the world. These agricultural giants aren't just impressive for their size. They're redefining what modern farming looks like. Some feed entire nations. Others reshape landscapes. All of them raise fundamental questions about the future of food production. From sun-scorched deserts to frozen Siberian plains, these operations prove that geography is no longer destiny. Technology, capital, and ambition can turn almost any environment into productive farmland. The farms feeding our world look nothing like most people imagine, and they're only getting larger and more essential to global food security with each passing year.